Many of us have traditionally studied under pressure to win the approval of a teacher or a parent, or to compete with fellow classmates. We invite you to take opportunity and take charge of your own learning. The youth coordinator and the course facilitators are here to facilitate and support your learning. Discussion boards exist for classmates to exchange views, observations, and ask questions of one another. For those who need answers to specific questions that cannot be answered through the discussion boards or have individual queries, you're welcome to send a message to the project coordinator at youthcoordinator@earthcharter.org, who will respond to you directly. As you work your way through the tasks, we invite you to take full advantage of the exercises, to be open and honest in your answers. We hope you advance with curiosity and purpose and enjoy the process. When you hear ecoliteracy, what do you think of? You're probably familiar with the term literacy, or the ability to read and write, to understand and communicate in a certain language. You're also probably familiar with the word eco, short for ecology. In the Merriam-Webster dictionary, ecology is defined as a science that deals with the relationships between groups of living things and their environments. Therefore, ecoliteracy is basically the ability to understand the natural systems that make life on Earth possible. This includes, for example, the impact of the waste we generate, anything we consume, including the food we eat, the clothes we wear, the technology we use. Humans, along with the other forms of life, need food, water, and space and stable conditions to survive. Fridtjof Capra, one of the founders of the Center for Ecoliteracy, writes that we need to learn and teach the fundamental facts of life, that one species' waste is another species' food, that matter cycles continually through the web of life, and that energy driving the ecological cycles flows from for the from the sun. Okay. Okay. Es que se corta un poquito las letras de la izquierda. Ajá. Entonces, no entendí qué era. Humans, along with other forms of life, need food, water, and space, and stable conditions to survive. Fridtjof Capra, one of the founders of the Center for Ecoliteracy, writes that we need to learn and teach the fundamental facts of life, that one species' waste is another species' food, that matter cycles continually through the web of life, that the energy driving the ecological cycles flows from the sun, that diversity assures resilience, that life, as suggested by Ling Margulis and Dorian Sagan, did not take over the planet by combat, but by networking. Rather than viewing humans as separate or superior to other life, we require a shift in perspective to recognize that humans are part of the natural world. By recognizing the common needs that we share with all organisms, we can begin to shift our perspective from a view of humans as separate and superior to a more authentic view of humans as members of the natural world. From there, we can begin to empathize with other life forms and act accordingly. Our modern practices are shockingly unsustainable. We are using natural resources at an irreparably damaging rate, polluting the air, water, and land which we, and all the other species, depend on to survive. The rate at which we are burning fossil fuels is raising the global temperature of the Earth, resulting in terrible natural disasters and unlivable habitats. We're producing absurd amounts of non organic waste with no plan for management or change in production and consumption, and continue to base our global market economy on a model of infinite growth, despite a finite planet and resources. What is the footprint that you are currently living on your path on this planet? Is your footprint contributing to an environmental degradation, or are you contributing to regeneration? What is a footprint that you would like to leave? Given the imminent necessity of sustainability and the abhorrent and unsustainability of our current practices, the international community came together at the United Nations Sustainable Development Summit in 2015 to create a development agenda for the next 15 years. The focus? Sustainable development. The agenda outlines 17 ambitious goals. For the goals to be reached, everyone needs to do their part: governments, the private sector, civil society, and individuals. Believe it or not, what you do as youth matters. What you buy, what you consume, how you dispose your waste, how you treat other beings, humans and non-humans, all of this matters. If the question arose as to whether to cut the tree down, a systems thinker might approach the issue across 3 dimensions. 1. Perception, extending our viewpoint and boundaries of concern. 2. Conception, helping us recognize the connections and patterns of our relationship. And 3. Action, helping us to design and act in a holistic and integrative way. For further understanding of this concept, let's read a short article and then implement this approach. First, read Fritjof Capra's Systems Thinking, A Shift in Emphasis. You can click on the link below and also find it in the additional resources.
Si quieres arrancarte, ¿quién?
Okay.
You can.
You can click on the link below and also find it in the additional resources. Okay. How does systems thinking relate to sustainability? Sustainability is the ability to do something without jeopardizing the future generations. It's also the ability to look at things from different angles and see how the social, environmental, and economic dimensions of life interact. Sustainable practices and solutions require us to look far into the future and consider how our actions are impacting the well-being of living beings and systems, such as the Earth's ecosystem. Thinking about natural resource and energy use, production and consumption, using a systemic approach will lead to considerably different outcomes than those achieved with narrow, short-term thinking. The Earth Charter serves as evidence that okay. The Earth Charter serves as evidence that many people across national, racial, religious, gender, and socioeconomic divides agree that major changes in how we think and live are urgently needed, that we must commit to contribute to positive change for the common good. We invite you to reflect on your values, your vision, and your role, and question your assumptions. In this session, we invite you to discover how the Earth Charter can guide you as an ethical compass in becoming a leader for peace and sustainability. Below you can find a timeline, starting from the moment the Earth Charter was first envisioned back in the 1980s, when world leaders were already identifying social, economic, and environmental challenges, and how to address these through a new set of values and principles that should guide humanity in the new millennium on a more harmonious and regenerative path. The Earth Charter is broken down in 3 main headings: the preamble, the pillars, and the way forward. The preamble presents the current context, the concerns and needs that we have in order to guarantee our livelihoods and those of future generations. The pillars represent 4 central themes for sustainability and a just and balanced society. These are respect and care for the community of life, ecological integrity, social and economic justice, democracy, nonviolence, and peace. Each of these pillars contains principles to guide us towards building this new society. The way forward is a call to action. In the following sections, you can read each part of the Earth Charter and then reflect on the content. For example, do you identify principles that are missing in your context and that need to be nurtured? Do you identify concepts that may raise questions or contradict your beliefs? As you read each section, keep in mind how some of these ideas can inform you when making decisions. Also, keep in mind how this connects with what we have discussed so far on leadership, eco-literacy, sustainability, and systems thinking. Ay,
La foto puede esperar. Ahí está.
okay.
Listo.
Voy a empezar otra vez. A traditional leader single-handedly assumes the power to provide direction, initiate change, and make choices. They dictate a direction and a vision and convince others to follow them. Traditional leadership is often effective for short-term goals. Concentrated power with a short focus has led many of the problems. No, wait. Concentrated, okay. Concentrated power with a short focus has led to many of the problems we are currently facing. Even if the traditional leader has a strong sense of ethics, the model, concentrated in a single leader, has serious limitations. Once the strong, charismatic leader is gone, their vision and system are susceptible to collapse. Sustainability is bigger and longer term than one charismatic leader. It requires collaboration, shared vision, and a long-term commitment. A new model of leadership is the concept of systems leadership. It is a relatively new term for the leadership skills, tactics, and qualities that can be effective in addressing complex systemic challenges. Systems leadership draws upon familiar skills, such as subject expertise, strategy development, program management, coalition building, and collaboration, many of which have been applied by advocacy and community development leaders for decades. However, systems leadership combines these skills in a new way with the explicit goal of creating positive change on complex systemic issues. It is a combination of knowledge, skills, and mindset applied to create. Okay, wait. It is a combination. Sí, ¿verdad? However, systems leadership combines these skills in a new way with the explicit goal of creating positive change on a complex systemic issues. It is the combination of knowledge, skills, and mindsets applied to create systemic transformation that defines a systems leader. Why is this important? Because the challenges facing our local and global communities are increasingly complex and interconnected, and they demand a new kind of approach. The systems leadership approach is especially relevant to the complex global challenges facing us today, such as poverty, hunger, human health, and environmental degradation and violent conflict. The World Economic Forum summarizes a report on systems leadership written by the Harvard Kennedy School. The text and the picture here are adapted from this report. You can find the article as an additional resource. An Earth leader embraces sustainability and systems leadership approaches, and above all, is caring and responsible. What happens when we have a leader who does not care about the well-being of others? What happens when a leader who doesn't feel responsible for or isn't conscious for the long-term consequences of his or her decisions? While traditional leaders have followers, sustainable leaders have teams, comrades, co-workers, allies, friends, etc. One of the most noticeable factors of sustainability leadership model is its emphasis on teamwork and cooperation instead of following the instructions of a single powerful leader. The immensity of our challenges means that no individual, community, society, or nation can effectively address environmental, economic, and social problems it faces by acting alone. So, if we're advocating for sustainability leaders who embrace a set of ethics, what are the values and principles underlying this? It can be challenging to speak about ethics given the prevalence of so many cultural differences. But there's also a great deal of common ground. As a result of globalization, human beings are now directly connecting and interacting across the globe. There have been several movements to establish a global set of ethics. First was the United Nations Charter, followed by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Perhaps the most holistic, ecologically literate, and sustainable set of global ethics contained within is the Earth Charter. On the contrary, leaders are made. Leaders are just people who are learning, growing, and making mistakes. The difference is that they have recognized that they are not perfect or infallible and have decided to take a risk, have decided that it is worth the risk to fail, to be judged, to be seen and heard, in order to create a change. Creating change can be uncomfortable, intimidating, and scary. It can also be exhilarating, heartwarming, and fun. If you push your boundaries and feel uncomfortable, good. It probably means you're learning and making a change.
Listo.
Sí.
Eso era